The doctor walked in with blood on her gloves. Not the baby's blood. Mine. She said, Nora, your cervix has not opened past 4 centimeters. Your baby is in distress. If we do not operate in the next 30 minutes, you will both die. I looked at my husband, Connor, standing by the window, looking at his phone. I said, please, sign the form. He shook his head. He said, in my family, no woman has ever given birth through C-section. That is not how real women deliver. They push. That is what our mothers did. That is what our grandmothers did. I said, I have been pushing for 14 hours. Nothing is happening. The baby is stuck. He said, then you are not pushing hard enough. He said no woman in his entire extended family has ever had a C-section. He said it would bring shame to his lineage. He said I should try harder. The nurse came back with the consent form. She said, Sir, your wife's blood pressure is dropping. Please sign. He looked at the form. He looked at me. Then he turned and walked out of the room. He did not sign. This is not a story about infertility. 10 years of waiting. 10 years of praying. 10 years of being called barren at every family gathering. This is a story about how a man watched his wife bleed for 14 hours, and told her she wasn't pushing hard enough. And then he went to the canteen to eat. I am Nora. I am 39 years old. Calm. Analytical. The kind of woman who plans everything. But you cannot plan for betrayal. It comes like a thief. Smiling. Eating your food. Calling you sister. We met at NYSC camp in Kebbi State. He was Connor. From Ondo State. Tall. Dark. A civil engineer. I was the quiet girl from Enugu who read books while everyone else was playing cards. He said I was different. Said I was wifey material. And me. I was 26. My mother had been asking me since 23, Nora, when will you bring a man home? My aunties at every Christmas said, you are too picky, that is why you are still single. So when Connor proposed after 9 months, I said yes. Fast. We moved to Port Harcourt. A rented apartment in Rumokoro. He worked with an oil servicing company. I taught chemistry at a secondary school. Life was good. Until the first year passed. No pregnancy. His mother came from Ondo. She brought herbs. Bitter things that made me vomit for weeks. She said, in our family, we do not adopt. We do not do IVF. We push. That is what real women do. I trusted God. Every month. Every negative test. Every time my period came, I would lock myself in the bathroom and cry into a towel so no one would hear. Connor was patient. At first. He would hold me and say, God's time is the best. But by year 5, his patience turned into silence. He stayed late at work. He stopped touching me. When we visited Ondo, his uncles would ask, any good news, and he would just shake his head and walk away. And then, year 8. He brought a woman home. Said her name was Tenny. Said she was his younger sister from the village who needed a place to stay while she looked for a job. I believed him. Why wouldn't I? We were married. We were struggling together. Or so I thought. Year 9. Tenny was living in our spare bedroom. She was quiet. Helpful. She would cook and clean and tell me, don't worry, sister, God will answer your prayers. I didn't see it. The way she looked at him. The way he laughed differently when she was in the room. But God was watching. Year 10. I woke up one morning and the smell of fried plantain made me run to the bathroom. I was pregnant. After 10 years. 10 long years. No doctors. No IVF. Just a miracle. Connor cried. His mother cried on the phone. My own mother danced in her church in Enugu. But Tenny smiled too wide. And I didn't understand why until much later. My pregnancy was hard. I had high blood pressure. Swelling. I was on bed rest most days. Tenny took care of everything. She cooked my meals. She helped me bathe. She was like a sister to me. Or so I thought. On the night of the 38th week, my water broke at 2 a.m. 14 hours. 14 hours of labor. The worst pain I have ever felt. Worse than any injection. Worse than any herb his mother forced down my throat. Hour 10. The doctor checked. 4 centimeters. Hour 12. Still 4 centimeters. Hour 14. The baby's heartbeat started dropping. That was when the doctor came in with blood on her gloves. She said, "Nora, we need to do a C-section now." I said yes immediately. But Connor said no. He said, "In my family, no woman has ever given birth through operation. That is not how real women deliver. They push." I said, "I have been pushing for 14 hours. Nothing is happening." He said, "Then you are not pushing hard enough." The nurse brought the form. She begged him. I begged him. My mother was calling from Enugu, crying on the phone. He looked at the form. He looked at me. Then he turned and walked out. I called his phone. He picked up. I heard noise in the background. People talking. Plates clinking. I said, "Connor, where are you? Please come back. Please sign." He said, "I am at the canteen. I am eating." Eating. He said, "Let me finish my food." Then he hung up. That was the last time I heard his voice for 3 months. I called my brother. Obi. He came in 20 minutes. He signed the form. My parents sent money. The C-section was done. They brought out my son. Small. Crying. Perfect. I named him Chokudi. God is alive. But 3 hours after surgery, I started bleeding. Internally. Hemorrhaging. They rushed me back to the theater. The doctors fought for my life. I woke up 3 weeks later. They told me I had been in a coma for 21 days. When I opened my eyes, my mother was there. Crying. My brother was there. Holding my hand. The first thing I said was, "Where is my son?" My mother couldn't speak. My brother looked away. Finally, a nurse came and said, "Mama, your baby boy, he died 11 hours after birth. His lungs were not fully developed." 11 hours. I held him for 11 hours in my coma. I didn't even know. "And Connor?" I asked. My mother's face changed. She said, "The hospital called him when you went into the coma. He said he would come. He never did." 3 months. I stayed in that hospital for 3 months. Recovering. Learning to walk again. Learning to live without a womb. Without my son. Connor never came. Not once. Not a call. Not a message. When I was discharged, my family begged me not to go to our apartment. My mother said, "Nora, just come home to Enugu. We will take care of you." But I had to see him. I had to look him in the eye. I took a taxi to Rumuokoro. I used my key to open the door. The living room was different. New curtains. New pillows. Women's shoes at the door. Size 38. Not my size. I walked to the bedroom. The door was open. Tenny was lying on my bed. On my side of the bed. Her belly was round. Very round. months pregnant. And Connor. Connor was feeding her grapes. Like she was a queen. He looked up when he saw me. His face did not change. No guilt. No shame. He just said, "You are back." I said, "My son died. I lost my womb. You were eating at the canteen while I was dying. And you are feeding grapes to a woman you said was your sister." He shrugged. What was I supposed to do? Sit there and watch you sleep for 3 weeks? Tenny smiled. She rubbed her belly. She said, "Sister Nora, I am sorry. But you could not give him children." I could. I looked at Connor. This man I had prayed for. Fasted for. Waited 10 years for. And I said, "You killed my son." He looked away. He said, "What is done is done." I left. I filed for divorce. I moved to Lagos. And then God did something beautiful. I met Michael. A widower. He had 2 children. He did not care about my womb. He said, "Your heart is enough for me." He called me last month. His voice was small. Broken. He said, "Nora, I have lost everything. Can we try again?" I laughed. I said, "My flight leaves in 2 weeks. I am relocating to Australia with my husband and my children. My 4 children." Connor said, "Australia? That is so far." I said, "Yes. It is. And you will never see me again. If you have ever been told you are not enough, book your flight. Let it burn. And go."